Hello, and welcome to part 1 of my London, Tilbury and Southend mainline operators mini-series. Today, we'll look at the operator of the London, Tilbury and Southend franchise, as well as the later renamed Essex Thameside franchise, c2c or LTS. But have they been any good since taking over operations from Network South East in May 1996? Or should they maybe be deemed as a failure? That's what I'll be discussing in this two-part mini-series, with today's episode covering the company from 1996 to 2017. If you enjoy, do like and subscribe so you don't miss the subsequent episode on C2C, and do consider joining my channel or my Patreon membership. Thank you. We start in 1996, when Britain's national railway network was being slowly privatised. The London, Tilbury and Southend franchise was created to be tendered out to a private company. This new franchise would run services out of London Fenchurch Street on the London, Tilbury and Southend line, colloquially named as the Misery line. The franchise was due to be awarded to Prison Rail under the LTS Rail brand name, but this was not without controversy. In February 1996, an inquiry was held by the government due to a potential fraud claim, with soon-to-be senior LTS officials cheating the London Underground of money by reissuing Fenchurch Street season tickets at Upminster, which deprived the Underground of £30,000 per month. The franchise was subsequently invited to retender whilst the investigation was undertaken. By April, the inquiry had found that no major fraudulent activities had occurred, with Prison Rail given the contract and raising its stock from 100p per share to 205p per share in one day. The franchise would initially last for 15 years, with LTS Rail commencing operations from the 26th of May 1996. LTS would operate all services out of London Fenchurch Street. They would operate three principal routes: Fenchurch Street to Shoeburyness via Basildon, Southend Central via Ockenden, and Grays via Rainham, with up to 8 trains an hour departing Fenchurch Street. LTS would sometimes operate services to Liverpool Street via Stratford during engineering works or other disruptive periods. As for rolling stock, LTS Rail inherited a fleet of all slam door units. These included Class 302 first generation Mark I electric multiple units, Class 310 and Class 312 Mark II first generation slam door EMUs. As part of the franchise agreement to replace all slam door units, LTS would lease 100 sliding door vehicles from West Anglia Great Northern, Prism's sister company, coming in the form of Class 317s. Unfortunately, due to unexpected passenger growth on the wagon network, LTS would only be able to take over 68 vehicles, or 17 four-car trains. LTS, therefore, agreed a deal to renegotiate the franchise, which would see numerous other benefits. These included all slam door units replaced by March 2002, with capacity overall increased, improved punctuality standards, and some season ticket compensation, with £2 million to be spent on passenger information systems, extended staffing hours, and improved disabled facilities. LTS would also help fund bus links from stations to other areas not connected by train, whilst also funding a new footbridge at Chafford 100 to link the new Lakeside shopping centre by March 2000. LTS planned to replace the slam door units by ordering 44, later up to 46 due to construction delays, Adtrans Class 357-0s, which would replace the Class 310s and 317s, hopefully entering service by 1999. By June 2000, though, LTS would no longer exist, with the company confirming their name change to C2C, alongside a new website launch, with the corporate company name changed from LTS Rail Limited to C2C Rail Limited. Many people have questioned what C2C actually stands for. City to coast? Capital to coast? Commitment to customers? There has been no definitive answer, but I would say that city to coast makes the most sense when looking at C2C's routes. By the turn of the millennium, LTS were deemed as one of the most reliable operators in the country. The introduction of the new Class 357 Electrostars, slightly late in 2000, led to a sharp rise in punctuality for the now renamed C2C, with reliability and passenger numbers also rising, with the new 357s and their air-conditioned sliding door and CCTV cameras being worlds apart when compared to the old slam door units that they replaced. They were, at first, outshopped in a metallic blue LTS colour scheme with a garish green interior. Regardless, this fleet of new units led to an increase in passenger numbers of over 20% from 1996 to 2000, leading to complaints about overcrowding, with LTS, by 2000, being the most overcrowded London commuter rail operator, with 4.4% of peak hour trains being of short formations. To try and resolve the overcrowding issues and replace the final slam door stock, Prism announced in December 1999 that they would be spending £80 million on 28 more Class 357s. The units would be fitted with a plain white livery with the c2c logo applied. This would thus become the new default c2c livery. The units would be constructed in 2000, with full introduction aiming to take place by 2003, when the final slam door stock would hopefully run. Elsewhere in 1999, Prism Rail was taken over by National Express for £166 million. The company would now run 9 out of the 25 rail franchises in the UK, with Prism's founders taking home £6 million each, whilst 8 other founding Prism shareholders took home £13 million. By 2001, the new Class 357s had hit hot water, with the £300 million fleet being withdrawn from services in October 2001 due to a series of faults and breakdowns. Adtrans had been working hard on the fleet, with the Electrostars slowly returning back into service from the end of the year. As a token of gesture for the delays, Adtrans built 2 more units free of charge, taking the first order up to 46 4-car units. The reintroduction of the 357s and their improved reliability had allowed c2c to think about replacing its slam door units, the 21 312s, supplemented by 4 other units from Central Trains, and the Class 310s were slowly replaced from 1999, with the units continuing into service until 29th of March 2003, when the last slam door c2c service ran, leaving Fenchurch Street at 13:28, marking the end of slam door trains on the LTS main line. c2c, with the last slam door unit retired, were the first privatised operator in the UK to replace their inherited fleet, with all the 302s, 310s, 312s and subleased 317s all being replaced by the 357s by 2003, marking a huge transformation for travel in c2c passengers, in little over 6 years. In January 2004, Transport for London introduced Oyster Pay-as-you-go between services from Fenchurch Street and Upminster, allowing passengers to use their Oyster cards on national rail services for one of the first times ever. Unfortunately for c2c, more problems arose with the 357s due to the wrong type of pressure in the air affecting the units on the 20th of April. According to c2c, a sharp change in the weather and the atmospheric pressure being double that of the previous day had led to an airlock and the subsequent collapse of the pantograph. This did lead to a lot of confused and bewildered passengers, but the units had all been returned into service by the end of the week. In May 2005, to the delight of some, c2c announced that a trial to install on-train TV screens had been abandoned due to the collapse of the parent company, 360 On Board, with c2c hoping to find another supplier, but this was abandoned in June 2006. In February 2005, in relation to the TV screens, several passengers held protests on board against the idea, including a protest where passengers locked themselves in toilets. The protesters suggested that they wished to commute in the peace and quiet, and not be disturbed by TV shows playing through the sound system. In June 2006, c2c announced plans for airport-style security scanners to be installed at some of its stations to deter armed criminals from travelling. c2c teamed up with Essex Police and the British Transport Police, who launched a joint operation which lasted until the end of the summer. Officers would also have portable metal detectors, which could be used on the trains themselves, with a rise in thieves carrying knives on board services and general crime on board c2c services rising. Elsewhere in 2006, the Class 357s won the National Rail Awards Golden Spanner for reliability and maintenance, with this being the second such award won by the units. They averaged around 40,000 miles per casualty, with this being deemed as a huge success for the new trains. In 2006, c2c received backlash over its December 2006 timetable change, with 543 passengers raising concerns regarding the loss of Leindon terminating services and the loss of direct services from Leindon to West Ham or Limehouse, with 297 passengers concerned about the lack of services calling at West Ham and Limehouse. In response to a passenger-focused consultation, c2c did make several changes to its timetable, with additional calls at Limehouse and West Ham, as well as Leindon to West Ham and Limehouse services being reinstated. Eventually, in early January 2007, c2c decided to return to their old timetable altogether, due to continued passenger backlash at the new change. In October, to the delight of many, c2c confirmed plans for quiet zones in the first coach of each train, allowing for a more comfortable journey for those who wished for it, with the quiet zone introduced from early 2008. Also in October, C2c, along with Eon UK, announced that it would now power all its stations, maintenance facilities and offices with green renewable energy, with this, at the time, being the largest of its kind in the UK transport sector. This came with one Class 357, 357010, receiving a new green livery, promoting C2c, the greener way to go, to highlight the new scheme and to point out the fact that all 357s received new regenerative braking, leading to energy savings of 21%. In 2008, the Oyster Pairs You Go scheme was extended to Dagenham Dock and Rainham in July, with this also being extended to Trafford 100, Grays, Ockenden and Purfleet by 2010. In 2009, c2c were, not for the first time, deemed to be one of the most reliable and punctual train operators in the UK. C2c averaged 99.3% punctuality, peaking at 99.8% in period 3 of the year, with C2c making further improvements to how the trains leave at depots to ensure that they left on time, as well as general service punctuality improvements, announced along with faster journeys between Purfleet and Grays. This came with new onboard announcements about no smoking and quiet zones, as well as priority seating labels introduced. Elsewhere in 2009, C2c confirmed that all of its original Class 357s, still adorning old LTS liveries, would be repainted into a plain white National Express C2c livery, with all 357s receiving the new National Express livery by mid-2011, with the last blue LTS 357 running on the 5th of March. In December 2010, C2c was given a contract extension. National Express had been awarded a 2-year contract extension from May 2011 to May 2013, with an option to terminate the contract from December 2012. The Department for Transport announced that the franchise would eventually be re-tendered by 2013 for up to 15 years, with National Express CEO Dean Finch delighted at the extension, claiming that C2c would continue to be the UK's most reliable train operator. The new contract would include C2c increasing the frequency of services in time for the 2012 Olympic Games, with more frequent services to West Ham during this period, thanks to a signalling system upgrade. September 2011 saw a £1.5 million upgrade of Southend East Station be completed, with a new ticket office built, platform improvements and new lighting installed. Extra CCTV was also installed, with the station opened by the Mayor of Southend. In March 2012, the DfT confirmed the bidders for the next LTS franchise, now renamed the Essex Thameside franchise. These were Abellio, First Group, MTR, and National Express. The franchise was extended by a year in March 2013 due to delays in the franchise being awarded, with the franchise eventually being extended until November 2014. Finally, in June 2014, National Express was awarded the next franchise for 15 years, with C2c investing £160 million in 17 reconfigured Class 357 trains to bring 4,800 extra seats by the end of the contract. Elsewhere, punctuality targets would be increased to ensure that 90% of services would arrive on time within a minute of the timetable by December 2018, with Wi-Fi installed at stations and on trains. Rail Minister Stephen Hammond said the deal would lead to significantly improved journeys. Also in 2014, in November, C2c launched a new smart card, available to over 30,000 customers, with the new ITSO smart card reducing the need for a physical season ticket and reducing the time taken to get past ticket barriers. A rise in passenger numbers had led to C2c wanting to increase capacity. Their contract promised an increase in capacity, with 20% of their trains, 17 Class 357s, in 2015, being reconfigured into a metro configuration, by reducing the 3x2 seating to 2x2 seating to allow for more people standing on their trains. These refurbished Electrostars were given metro branding and designated 357-3s. This came alongside all Class 357s receiving a light refresh with new internal branding, new floors and upgraded lighting. In late 2015, C2c aimed to change their timetable in December to better reflect passenger journeys. This would, once again, see Leyden peak time services cut, with every service now calling at Limehouse, Barking and West Ham. This led to commuters from further afield suggesting that one-stop hoppers were being prioritised over actual season ticket commuters. Regardless, C2c did go ahead with most of these changes, although a few peak time Leyden starting and terminating services were reinstated, with a few peak time services from Shoeburyness passing through Barking or West Ham to eliminate one-stop hoppers. The new timetable would see 4 trains an hour in each direction at every station during peak times, with a train every 3 minutes into Fenchurch Street during the peak. More weekend services to Stratford and Liverpool Street would be added, whilst faster journey times would also be implemented into the December 2015 timetable. This came at a time when c2c was below average in terms of overcrowding and providing connections when compared to other London commuter operators. When the timetable commenced on Sunday the 13th of December, c2c were bombarded with criticism, with Managing Director Julian Drury saying that the backlash was greater than he expected, with wholesale disruptions on Monday morning not helping. Some changes for Thursday did relieve overcrowding, but commuters were overall disappointed at the new timetable, which seemed to increase overcrowding, not decrease it. c2c themselves suggested that the reason for overcrowding was due to the unexpected increase in passenger numbers, which had increased by 5 million in just 4 years. By January 2016, c2c confirmed that they would be reinstating more trains to Southend, with passengers continuing to bombard c2c with complaints of overcrowding between Fenchurch Street and Barking. The new timetable did not have an issue in terms of reliability or frequency. It was merely a lack of carriages that was the issue. 2 more peak time lane starting services did help, as did some 8 and 12 car peak time services, with the main line having the luxury of not conflicting with any other train operator, hence having the freedom to add, remove or reshuffle trains at will, without having to change other operators' timetables. c2c did also confirm that, by 2019, they would begin operating brand new trains, with 25 4-car trains due to enter service by 2024. Many passengers suggested that they could not wait until 2019, and that c2c should look to get some new trains before then. These eventually came in the form of Class 387 Electrostars, built by Bombardier. c2c would operate 6 4-car units, with 235 seats per train, 1,400 additional seats each peak. The trains would be far more modern than the current 357s, with table seats and plug sockets, as well as gangways, so passengers could walk down the entire train to find a seat. The new trains entered service in November 2016, adding some well-needed capacity to c2c, whilst the tender for the new 2019 trains was also out by 2016 for manufacturers. Earlier in February, c2c confirmed the launch of new automatic delay repay systems for season ticket holders, which would allow smart card users to be repaid 3p per minute of delay, allowing for compensation to be immediately distributed. The new January 2017 timetable also included more carriages for c2c, with more 12-car services running, whilst more 4-car peak services were upgraded to 8 carriages. January 2017 also saw National Express sell c2c to another firm. But who was that firm? How would they deal with operating c2c through the pandemic? And what is the future of c2c as a private operator? All this and more will be answered in part 2 of the history of c2c. Do make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a second episode and final part. Up until 2017 though, have c2c, or LTS, been a success? Well, I would certainly say so. They replaced all slam door inherited stock with state-of-the-art Class 357s which, although it had some hiccups at first, turned out to be solid and reliable units. They were, by 2017, a victim of their own success, due to the sharp rise in passenger numbers on the network, and hence a rise in overcrowding and passenger dissatisfaction. Whether the new company replacing National Express could solve any of these issues will be a story for part 2. In the meantime, special thanks to my first class members Callum Martin Bell and Crispin McKee, as well as my business known members Andrew Bowen, Anthony Harris, Anthony James Moore, ARK, Clive's Travel and Trains, Connor Grieg, Craig Mitchell 43, Dave CDF, Gordon Walker, JBNEL, J Techo, Lewis C21, That Transport Girl and Train Teen. Get your name on this list from as little as £2.99 a month, and help me to make my videos in return for exclusive perks, such as early access to all my videos. I really do appreciate it, so thank you. Also, thanks to everyone who's let me use their footage for today's video. You can find their channels in the description or pinned comment below. Once again, thanks so much for watching. Check out my Blue Sky, Twitter and Discord server in the links below, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.